A client of mine once spoke with an insurance company who pitched him on buying an annuity. And once they used the phrase guaranteed income for life, my client got hooked. And we ended up having a discussion about it. I kind of educated him in the pros and cons, but he went ahead and bought the annuity. And 2 years later, he called me. He said, Jonathan, I wish I'd never bought this, and I wish it was easier to get out of. So here are 5 reasons to avoid buying an annuity. The first is capping your upside. So in order for an insurance company to be able to afford the benefit of telling you that there's no potential downside or that your principal is fully protected, they also have to cap your potential returns on an annual basis. This is something they call participation rates. So they might say that on any given year, the maximum return that you can earn is 10%. And it usually, oftentimes, can be that number. Now, it turns out that that kind of cap is a shockingly high price to pay. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why. So you've heard that the stock market averages roughly 10% return per year over time. The question becomes, what happens when you apply an annuity structure, like a fixed index annuity structure, to that return? So that means that we're going to have 0% downside. The value can't go down, and we're going to cap our upside to 10% per year. It turns out the return on average goes from 10% to 7% or even 6% per year. So for example, over the last 20 years, the stock market averaged 10.3%, but if you apply that annuity structure to it, the return drops to 7.3%. And the same is true if you go even further back, go all the way back almost 100 years to 1926. The average return was 10.5% per year. If you apply the annuity structure to it, the return drops to 6.5% per year. You end up losing 4% return per year. And the point is, this 3 or 4% annual performance difference has a real impact on your outcome over time. Literally, it could be the difference between being able to set up your grandchildren for financial success by helping pay off their loans versus just not being able to leave them anything. This cost that I'm describing in terms of giving up potential return often goes undetected, specifically because it's natural for us to compare the average stock market return of 10% to the participation rate of 10%. And those things seem very similar. But what most people miss is that the stock market is either going way up in a given year or way down. So it turns out that being able to earn returns that exceed 10% really matters for your outcome. So just to summarize here, while a 10% participation rate can seem very reasonable, it could actually end up robbing you of 30 to 40% of your potential return over time. Okay, and just before I move on here, I actually just spoke with a client 2 weeks ago to the day who met with a new advisor. And on the first meeting, the advisor convinced him to sign up for a fixed index annuity. And when he got home, the insurance company sent it's a document called the Memorandum of Understanding, just describes all the terms. When he looked at the terms, it said that during the course of the contract, the insurance company could lower the participation rate or reduce the cap on the annual performance. And the client thought, is that even legal? And the crazy thing is it actually is legal. So he ended up calling the insurance company back the very next day and saying, get me out of this thing. The second reason is losing access to your money. So for most annuities, once you're in, you oftentimes don't have full access to your principal anymore. So for example, for immediate annuities where you start getting income right away, you no longer have any access to your principal. And with deferred annuities, when you're not getting income right away, often you have to pay penalties in order to get access to your principal. Most deferred annuities have something called a surrender period, which can last roughly 3 to 10 years. And that surrender period means that if you want to take more than 10% of your principal out in any given year, you're going to have to pay a percentage fee. And I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute. The point I'm trying to make is, generally when you're buying an annuity, you're going to end up giving access to your money away for at least a certain period of time. The third reason is fees, and there's plenty to cover here. So if you want your money back during a surrender period, you're going to have to pay something that the insurance company calls surrender charges. And those are percentage fees to get your money back. Those typically last for 3 to 10 years, but they often start at around 7% of the value of the contract. And then each year after that, they tend to decline. It's like maybe in year 2, it's 6%, in year 3, it's 5%, and so on. So for example, if I sign up for a $200,000 annuity and want to get my money back after 1 year, it might cost me $12,000 to do that. So at the beginning of this video, when I talked about my client wishing it was easier to get out of annuity, this is what he was referring to, is that the fee for getting out is so high that you just feel stuck in it. I can't tell you how many clients I've spoken with that just feel stuck in an annuity because of these surrender charges during the surrender period. That surrender period can typically last 3 to 8 years from the purchase date. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if you want to get your money out early, it could cost you thousands of dollars to do so. And we're not done with fees just yet. So according to Nationwide, the average cost for a variable annuity is 2 to 3% per year. And that fee is made up of anything from administrative fees, expense ratio fees, which are costs to own the investments, and even mortality fees. These are just fees that the insurance company needs to charge to make sure they can afford to pay you the death benefit that they promised. The point being, annuity benefits come with a cost. There's no free lunch for anything that an insurance company can offer you. And if it costs an arm and a leg to own an annuity, it also costs an ear and an eye to get out of one. And the fourth reason is potential conflicts of interest. So if I walk into a car dealer and ask a car salesman if I need a new car, the answer is probably going to be yes, even if I don't need one. And the reason why is they've got a financial incentive to sell me a car. They're going to earn a commission. And the same is true of professionals who sell annuities. They often earn commissions from selling them. Those commissions can range from 1 to 7% of the premium. So if I buy an annuity for $200,000, I could be paying a commission of $14,000. The point I'm making is this commission structure creates a real conflict of interest. On your screen, you can see a breakdown of the different commission structures for different types of annuities, and these are just averages. You should know that nowadays, oftentimes annuities can have a 0% commission structure, which I'm a huge fan of. If I was going to buy an annuity, I would stick with a 0% commission one. But you should also know that there are other wonderful investment options available to you, which brings us to reason number 5. The fifth reason is better investment alternatives than an annuity. So we're fortunate to live in a world where we can access ETFs that have no commission and charge roughly 0.1% per year as a fee, or maybe even less, and use a diversified portfolio to create the outcome we want. So I'm going to give you a short list of examples of diversified ETFs that charge 0.1% per year in fees. You can own a treasury bill fund that matures in 0 to 3 months, pays you 4.5% interest, no state income taxes. In fact, I made a video about that, which you can watch right here. Second, a diversified corporate bond fund paying 5% interest. How about a real estate investment trust, or a REIT, which historically has earned about 7.5% the last 20 years? How about a U.S. stock index fund, which over the last 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, and 100 years has averaged 10%? Look, all of these different investment options have their own pros and cons, especially based on time horizon. But used in coordination with each other, they can help protect your principal, fund your lifestyle, and leave a meaningful legacy to your beneficiaries. So just to summarize here, annuities can work as an investment, but you've got so many great alternatives that don't have a performance cap, don't charge high fees, don't reduce your access to your money and don't create conflicts of interest. Lastly, my name's Jonathan Bird, and my mission is to help folks who are either nearing or in retirement turn their financial house into their financial castle, insofar as a castle represents things like security and protection and longevity, peace of mind. So if you enjoyed this video, I welcome you to please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks.